The latest update to ChatGPT Images has finally been released, and it is pretty nuts what people are doing. It's only been out about 24 hours, and we're already seeing some incredible examples of creativity. This is from Min Choi posting, here's 10 wild examples of ChatGPT 2.0. And this spans everything from creator UGC content using Cdance and ChatGPT combined, some fighting games that didn't exist, right? So this looks like actual gameplay from a Street Fighter game or something of that ilk, as well as just a variety of other use cases like infographic, UI interfaces, design mockups, video game posters. So this is pretty remarkable. I also ran a test of the new ChatGPT 2.0 just now, and I'm comparing it to Gemini specifically. This is a Nano Banana 2.0. So all I typed here in Nano Banana was dog chewing on a bone in cinematic fashion. Okay, and this is the result we got. And now we compare that to ChatGPT. I got to say, the level of detail on this, I mean, look at the mud, the dirt on the ground. You can see the details on the dog's fur. It's pretty outstanding out of the box compared to what we're getting, even in Nano Banana, which is obviously very good as well. But the level of detail here is really unprecedented, I think, for an image generator. I remember back 2 years ago when AI image generators, they couldn't spell words correctly. Everything just looked like non-English words. All text looked like non-English words, things like that. Well, now there's multilingual features in this new model. So it does multilingual text, it does full infographics, it does slides, it does maps, even manga. So here's some examples of that. You can see very detailed images, infographics, type of content here. This is definitely a huge leap for ChatGPT, especially at a point when Claude and Gemini had really been stealing the headlines of late. And images have always been something that takes a little bit of tweaking to get the right output. And going back multiple years, of course, we had images with mangled text, and it just couldn't really get any of those specific details. Well, now it looks like we're reaching that era where those fine details are starting to be corrected. And so when OpenAI released the GPT Image 1.5, I think back in December, there were some improvements to the colors and the lighting and some of the underlying technology. But Image 2.0 seems to be a little bit different. It seems to be, the research team has described this as quote unquote revamped from scratch. And really the key improvements here are in text rendering. So this is what most people have been talking about over the last day, and for good reason. This is the finer details that you'll find in infographics. You could create menus for a restaurant this way. You can create educational slides. You could even create children's books potentially, right, with images and text and that kind of thing. There's really an unlimited amount of things you can do with this that you just couldn't really do with previous image generators. There's also a thinking mode, right? There's what OpenAI calls thinking capabilities, quote unquote. And when you enable a thinking model inside of ChatGPT, the system doesn't just generate an image from your prompt. It reasons through what the image should be first. It can search the web in real time to get accurate reference information. It also analyze documents you upload, pull the specific data, and they can generate up to 8 coherent images from one single prompt. So instead of just writing a prompt and getting a one-off image, you can get a collage of images. You can get, if you're making, let's say, a step-by-step documentation, you can get a whole series of images depicting each of those elements in fine detail. Multilingual support. So previous models have all been heavily biased towards Western languages, which is understandable, but text generation now is becoming much more consistent in Chinese and Hindi and Korean and Japanese and in these different languages that used to be much more difficult to get that accurate representation. Now you're starting to get it here with this new iteration of ChatGPT. You can kind of see that here in this example for Kenji. Hard work never betrays. Resolution and aspect ratio is another piece of this. Now, it is, in the past, you generate an image and it may be a little bit lower res. It may not be quite there. Now you're getting images where the base model alone supports up to 2K resolution, and the API version, which is currently in beta, supports up to 4K. So aspect ratios now range from 3:1 wide all the way to 1:3 tall, which means you can generate properly formatted assets from everything from billboard banners to mobile stories without having to crop or do any reprompting or anything like that. And the best part of all for the developers out there, this new Images 2.0 has Codex integration. So it integrates with OpenAI's coding agent, Codex, which opens up a lot of possibilities for developers, especially when you're trying to merge AI mockups into your development flows. It makes that process a lot more seamless. So now there are some limitations right off the bat here. Some users who tested Image 2.0 are noticing that even though the photorealism is really strong, the proportionality of objects in complex scenes can still be a little bit off. So if you need 80 people in a scene, it might give you 79 and things like that. But it's still it's still getting it fairly accurate to what you're typing in. It just might not be exact, right? And of course, the second concern is privacy. As you can see in Min Choi's examples here, I mean, look at the realism of this UGC ad, for example. I mean, this person looks like a real UGC actor, does not look fake. Now, this is with a combination of Seedance and GPT image, but still, I mean, it's incredible. So there's serious concerns there, right? There could be a lot of deepfake potential issues. There could be creative licensing disagreements. But if it's used the right way, I mean, I think this could be built into any business's advertising model very easily. A lot of these images can be used to design websites, for UI interfaces, for really a number of possibilities there. And for affiliate marketing, it can be used for product placements, for advertisements, and like you see here, for these UGC type ads as well. And then the final area is pricing. Now, if you're a free user to ChatGPT, you get 2 to 3 images per day, right? So that's if you have the free plan, you're not paying anything. ChatGPT Plus, of course, is $20 a month, and Pro is $100 a month. And it gives you thinking mode and some advanced features like the multi-image outputs and higher resolution. Then, of course, there's the API for developers, where GPT Image 2 is priced at about $30 per million output tokens for images, which is actually about $2 cheaper, I think, on the output side than the previous version 1.5. So overall, this is exactly the kind of shift that should be making anyone start to think about, how do I improve my digital presence? How do I create more assets, more valuable content? There's going to be a lot of content out there now that's not valuable, but if you have the eye, the skill set, the mindset, and you're being genuine in your content creation, I think this can benefit a lot of people, both individual creators and business owners alike. If this is the kind of video content you find useful, we're talking about the latest AI developments out there, give us a like, hit subscribe, and we'll see you again soon. Peace.